Hey guys, welcome back to the show. In this video, I'm going to go ahead and react to Benjamin Cowen. Also, I'm going to add some information from Gareth, Bitcoin Strategy, and also from Clear Value Tax as well. They all have relevant information, and I bring it together for you in this video that's easy to understand. And in Ben's video, I'm going to react to the valuations of Ethereum, also his opinion about Bitcoin versus Ethereum, and where we're at in the cycle right now. Also about our thoughts about a potential recession in the stock market prices and how that can affect crypto. And then with Bitcoin Strategy, Gerhardt, he has some interesting information about Ethereum and its relationship to Bitcoin I wanted to add in for context. And with Clear Value Tax, there is some information about interest rates I want to highlight and how that could affect Bitcoin and Ethereum. So with that said, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I don't have a crystal ball. This is just my beliefs on the market and how I'm observing what is going on. So let's go ahead and get started. Like, subscribe, share this video whenever you get a chance. I'd really appreciate it.
Kind of explained why for so long I called for Ethereum to go home before going to new all-time highs. But after Bitcoin topped out in October, obviously Ethereum had entered into a bear market. Now it finds itself at more or less that fair value logarithmic regression trend line. Now, there are a lot of people capitulating on ETH, and I think this is one of those things where the market represents all of us, unfortunately. A lot of times people think they're not going to be the ones to capitulate on something or whatever, but the market represents everyone, and when you go 5 years and Ethereum has barely made new all-time highs, people are going to give up, right? I mean, if you think about it, what have people really accomplished by holding Ethereum for the last 5 years? Not a whole lot. In fact, in many, I know there is some yield, but in a lot of cases, just holding cash was better than holding ETH. And that might not be a popular thing to say, but it's true, right? Like, it's true. So what I'm looking for Ethereum is a couple things. I will say this, and I've said this for a long time. Ethereum this year, probably coming up very soon actually, will likely go to the lower part of its regression band, just like it did at the end of 2019. That's where it ultimately bottomed out, and it had a nice rally, and then we had a recession. So I want to be clear about my thoughts on the matter for Ethereum. Ethereum could go to the lower part of the regression band, which roughly corresponds to the April 2025 low. It could go there, and we still not be in a recession. As crazy as that sounds.
So Ben said two important things there. He said that if you held ETH for a long period of time, then you basically didn't make any money about 5 years, and so a lot of people are capitulating on ETH, giving up. And I think that's a very key point, and that's why ETH is somewhat very attractive to me, and that's why I did go all in on ETH, because I think that's a sign of marking the bottom, possibly, if people are giving up on Ethereum. And then also, he shows how Ethereum is in the regression band that he has drawn out, and then it's going to move to the bottom of it, lining up with the last low. And that's where ETH went to, around 1,600, 1,500 was just above that area, which was close enough for me. And I saw how ETH was getting supported by some moving averages at the same time, so I didn't think it was going to go quite as low as what most people thought it would. So let's go ahead and continue listening to what he has to say. There's a couple other things he goes over that I feel is really important, so let's go ahead and take a look.
Crazy as that sounds, to go durably below the regression band, like you got a glimpse of it in 2020, that's recession territory, right? Like that is where you're really getting into that. So what I would say is this: you can't really have a recession until you have lower asset prices. And when I talk about lower asset prices, I'm not talking about crypto. The reality is most people in the world don't care about crypto at all. Okay, Ethereum could theoretically be trading for way less than it is right now, and still a majority of the world wouldn't know or care. All right. So when I talk about lower asset prices, I'm not talking about crypto. I'm talking about the stock market.
I completely agree. Crypto market is very, very small compared to the stock market, and it represents, how many people even know about crypto or are interested in crypto. And so when we're talking about recession, we're definitely talking about the stock market and equities.
In a late business cycle environment, it is the riskier assets that get hit first. That's why Bitcoin topped out sooner. That's why altcoins topped out a long time ago against Bitcoin. Alts topped against Bitcoin back in 2021, right? So you can see how the cycle plays out. It just hasn't reached the stock market yet.
This is a good point, and this is why I do think that possibly there could be a recession later on this year, because it hasn't reached the stock market yet. And when it does, that could be when the recession happens, and that can hit crypto very hard, including Ethereum.
And there's not a guarantee that it will reach it anytime within the next few months. So I will say this: if Ethereum were to drop down here to the lower part of the regression band, and there's not really clear signs of a recession, then I might start to expect some big counter trend move off of that level. Now,
the question is, what would be those signs that would be a recession is going to come at the end of the year? Could it be the IPOs that are going to be coming from SpaceX and different AI companies, and where those initial investors could sell into the market? Could that be a sign that there could be a little bit of a pullback after that? Or it could be just prices just going out of control to the upside, and then a recession happens. And for me, it's not that clear, because the stock market just continues to go higher and higher and higher. And anybody that bets against that has been left behind in the past. So me personally, I don't think it's specifically good to bet against the stock market. And I'm learning that every single day by just watching it go up and up and up. And so that's why I personally invested in Ethereum right now, to take advantage of those prices at very low, and not to bet on a recession happening at the end of the year, which it could completely do that, but usually those catch people off guard, because the stock market does go up a lot higher. And if you're betting against it and you think it's going down lower, you could be left behind.
Now, here's where it gets interesting for Ethereum, okay? And it's basically, if you think about last cycle, it actually bottomed in June.
We're in June right now, and things are completely oversold. So what if Ethereum is bottoming in June right now? It could happen.
And so I'm making this video in May because there's a part of me that thinks, well, what if history repeats itself? Like, what if Ethereum just finds sort of a low in June? I think the most likely outcome is that crypto bottoms in Q4. I think Bitcoin will likely bottom in Q4. But who knows when every individual altcoin will bottom. So I'll start to look for lows for Ethereum as early as June. Just
because we don't know when the recession is going to happen. I can't overstate that enough. It's an assumption. It's a fear that people have. And so it keeps people out of the market, even if there's low prices for assets and they're actually at a good value. And that's just the kind of thought I'm having. That's the belief I have right now. I can be completely wrong. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I do not have a crystal ball. I'm just saying this is my thought process because of what I'm seeing in the charts right now with Bitcoin dominance, with Ethereum on these moving averages, and also trend lines as well, and how it could have support right there. And I'm just saying, it could go down lower. It could go down 50%, but long term, I do think Ethereum is going to have some major upside. It's been consolidating for 5 years now. And so, sorry about picking my nose right now, but just, anyways, I think it's a good deal right now. But tell me in the comments below if you don't think it's a good idea. Let's continue.
Because I saw that's what happened last cycle, and I don't want to sit here and say, well, it can't happen like that. It could. I mean, last cycle, Ethereum bottomed in June, Bitcoin bottomed in November.
This is a good example, is you never know what's going to happen in crypto. last cycle, Ethereum bottomed in June, but Bitcoin bottomed in November, and then Ethereum made a higher high. I was around for that, and that was a rip-roaring rally by Ethereum. It went up like 150% or something big, and I was like, dang, I wish I would have invested in Ethereum right there. And I'm kind of looking at this setup the same way. What do you think?
So that's a little play out again. I don't know. So what I would say is this, though. In order for Ethereum to come down here, back down to where it was in April of 2025, Bitcoin needs to get a larger correction, okay? At least you're talking back down to the lows. Now, here's where it gets somewhat,
Guys, that's where we're at right now. Bitcoin is down to the lows, down to 60, and Ethereum has corrected that low. And so that's where we're at. This is a video filmed in the past, and now we're in the future, and this is what's going on.
Interesting. If you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin is already below the April 2025 lows. Sorry, it already went below it. It's not below it right this minute, but it's sort of corresponding to a rally, not a dump. But the ETH Bitcoin pair has been bleeding, right? Like, it's actually been bleeding. And what I think the most likely scenario is for it to come back down, potentially back down to where it was back over here. Could be a higher low. I'm not saying it can't be, but I think you're likely seeing it bleed. Now, why are we seeing the ETH Bitcoin valuation bleed?
Now, I don't necessarily disagree with them. It could happen. It still can happen, but I do have some other thoughts on it. And also, there's another guy that I'm going to go ahead and talk about that has some other thoughts as well. So let's look what he has. So this is Gerhardt with Bitcoin Strategy, and he talks about Ethereum dominance and also these trend lines with Ethereum that would make me think that possibly Ethereum has bottomed out against Bitcoin. So let's see what he has to say.
Stake. Everybody bought Ethereum in anticipation of that event. That was then a sell the news event, and then subsequently Tom Lee of BitMine started to buy Ethereum, and so Ethereum outperformed again. Ethereum dominance, just to quickly recap, is how much of all of cryptocurrencies market cap is currently in Ethereum, and that tended to trade between 7% and 21%. And again, in the last months, we tend to rather underperform in Ethereum, and recently with the Michael Saylor crash, Ethereum is doing even worse. But is this potentially an opportunity, since we've sold off that much and we are now at the lower end of that trading range? Is there maybe a case to be made that Ethereum should be going up from here and that it might outperform by, say, 15% from here?
I understand that Benjamin Cowen is talking about BTC versus Ethereum, and then also Bitcoin Strategy, Gerhardt, is talking about Ethereum dominance. So I know that's completely two different things. And so by figure, I think actually the Ethereum dominance is actually more important than actually the Bitcoin Ethereum relationship, is because, or evaluation, is because the Ethereum dominance is compared to the whole market, including Bitcoin and all the different altcoins. And so what Gerhardt with Bitcoin Strategy is saying is that Ethereum dominance is going to be going up, while Ben is saying that the Bitcoin Ethereum pair, Ethereum is going to lose value to Bitcoin a little bit right now. So it's a little contradiction. I guess both things could be true in theory, but if that is the case, where Ethereum is getting more market share but losing value to Bitcoin, then everything else is just going to be going down the toilet. But we'll see how it's going to play out. I'm going to take a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, and this is what Ben hasn't really talked about, is these two lines crossing that really tell you if Ethereum or if Bitcoin dominance is going to go down or up. And in the past, Bitcoin dominance has gone down after these lines crossed, and Ethereum is the second highest market cap. So the odds are is that Ethereum is going to take it from Bitcoin because it needs more market cap to go up. So let's take a look at these lines and tell me what you think. Yeah, Ben has not really talked about these two moving averages. They just crossed on the Bitcoin dominance right there. And if you compare it to the past, that is when Bitcoin dominance has gone down very sharply. And the last cycle, it didn't actually cross. So the whole cycle for crypto was for Bitcoin. And that's why Ben was right, because that's one of the reasons why he was right to stay into Bitcoin. But these have crossed now, and so it's interesting. I wonder what's going to happen and how that's going to change different narratives and make some people right and some people wrong in the future. And you can see right here where the red line crossed before, that's when Bitcoin dominance went down, and there was about a 6 month period where altcoins shined over Bitcoin. And this is the first time that Bitcoin dominance, those lines crossed, and you can see the Bitcoin dominance went down over about a year and a half. And this is where Ethereum did blow up a lot. And this is what I think is going to happen more than the other time, because this time those lines crossed when the market was at lows, not highs. And so there was a longer altcoin season because these lines crossed at the beginning of the next crypto cycle. So I don't think he's actually taking this into account and looking at these two lines crossing. So what has served him well is just being kind of like, I'm in favor of Bitcoin, and it's really enforced his beliefs with it. And so I'm open to the idea where this cycle, Ethereum could outshine Bitcoin and altcoins could outshine Bitcoin as well, since those two lines just crossed.
Monetary policy. Rate cuts, the rate cuts that we had priced in to enter the year have now been priced out, and now the market is starting to worry about rate hikes rather than rate cuts. And so as you price out looser monetary policy, higher risk assets bleed to lower risk assets. And so you're witnessing that happen. You're seeing how higher risk assets, in this case Ethereum.
Okay, now this is a good point. He is saying that Ethereum's not doing good and it's not going to do good in the future, possibly because of rate hikes. The thing is, they just actually changed the rules with how they measure inflation.
It's of 2.0%, but they can't do it. They've been trying for years and they keep failing. Maybe it's because of all the money printing. Okay, so let me ask you, do you know the easiest way to get inflation down to a rate of 2.0%? What's the easiest way? How do you do it? I'll tell you, the easiest way to do it is to change the way that they calculate inflation, and that's what they're going to do.
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, share this video. And remember, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I don't have a crystal ball. And this is just a speculation. Cryptocurrency is very volatile. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of factors that affect the market. And this is what I'm doing right now. So I'll see you in the next video.